Welcome back. Now, government has gazetted a draft policy proposal to temporarily ban the export of scrap steel and copper. The ban will last for 6 months. This is one of the ways South Africa is trying to stop criminality in the scrap metal value chain. For more on this, we're joined now by City of Johannesburg's MMC for Environmental and Infrastructure Services, Michael Sun. Thank you very much, Mr. Sun, for your time here on All Angles. Firstly, this I assume you would welcome because it would possibly be a step in the right direction in terms of your own fight against the theft of scrap metal and things that you need for the infrastructure in the city.
Good day. Thank you very much, Masego. We certainly, as the City of Johannesburg, will want to see strong and tough measures taken by the national government to stop infrastructure damage and theft, vandalism to our critical infrastructure. However, we do see this from a different angle. The temporary, the proposal to the temporary ban would also affect, in our view, those legitimate business people that are in the industry. And of course, you wouldn't want to paint everybody with the same brush. Our view is that this remains a crime, a criminal problem. It's not really a policy problem. It's good that, there will be formulation of policies and, permits being developed. I think that is a progressive step. However, what one also needs to look at is that this is nothing more but a crime issue that we are facing nationwide. Us in Johannesburg, we've been fighting this issue since our appointment in the new political term. But what is also very important that if we look at the current legislation, the Second-Hand Goods Act, where it does make provision for those kind of curtailing of dealing with second-hand goods and fighting of criminals, if the police could be better resourced and better focused with strategies and specialized units, we are quite certain that this problem can be managed. One also need to look at the other countries. For example, Kenya had implemented a similar ban, but they didn't come out very well. Because there were no empirical data to show that by imposing such ban, you in fact would bring down the rate of crime relating to, cable theft and infrastructure vandalism. So we really want to ask that the national government to work with us at the metropolitan level to say that we need to devise ways that we focus on the crime, and instead of making the existing legitimate business people's lives even more regulated. But in fact, we need to be supportive of them to ensure that we bring up the legitimate business and clamp down on the illegitimate businesses.
Some people were saying that maybe there should be a law that says that if you are trading, even if your business might be legitimate, you should be able to prove exactly where you got that scrap metal and other resources from. And then that way, we, government and police would be able to tell whether or not you stole it. What do you think of that, if there was that legislature that came into effect?
Absolutely. In fact, I think that function is already there in terms of the Second-Hand Goods Act. The South African Police Services is tasked with that function of crime prevention and fighting crime. So if they were to regularly inspect those second-hand dealerships and say, where did you receive your goods from, surely the operators in business would keep a register of where they procure and buy their goods, who they have paid for these goods. So it's not rocket science, and I will put it, it's something in terms of what the police should be implementing already. To relook and revise the permitting system, it is important. So that will certainly, give some credit to the national government of wanting to improve that part of the legislation. But we certainly shouldn't, forget about what's there already and reinvent the wheel, in a manner of speaking. I would certainly be very happy if we saw more police officers going out there to fight the actual criminals of cable theft and infrastructure vandalism and pay more attention to the existing scrap dealers. Many of them are unregistered and all over the city in Johannesburg, for example.
Yeah.
And those are the focus areas the police needs to look at.
But of course, police would say that it doesn't end with them. I mean, for instance, the Criminal Matters Amendment Act allows that, for instance, you give 2 years to a minimum of 2 years to somebody who's found with cables that were stolen, and a maximum of 30 years to the syndicates that are behind it, right? And police would say we arrest so many, but when it comes to the courts and the sentences that happen there, it doesn't speak to, what we've investigated and, for instance, the evidence that they found. And I assume that you would probably also be someone who supports hefty and harsh sentences, because at the end of the day, the stealing of these resources and equipment affects the economy and, in turn, the entire country.
Now, a great example is that in July, or in fact last month, a hefty sentence was passed down of 12 years against a cable thief. And those are kind of punishment we are looking at to the judiciary, to say that there needs to be a very strong value chain, starting from law enforcement to the courts, and of course, to whatever other process that we may have in terms of our border control and trade policies. But the important part is that, for example, Johannesburg is working very closely with our residents and our community policing forum, the patroller groups, that we are encouraging them and supporting them. So when I say that the police need to go do their work, at the same sentence, we also need to say that we need to support our police officers, but we need to bolster their efforts by bringing on board the community members, where we gather enough evidence to ensure those criminals, when they go to court, they are being convicted and given the harshest sentence possible. And this is the way that these criminals will be deterred from dealing with illegal scrap metal.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. That is MMC Michael Son. He is from the Department of Infrastructure Service and in the city of Joburg.